Fixing mistakes costs more than hiring right. Most contractors spend more time putting out fires than preventing them. I'll show you a proven system to stop hiring wrong in the first place. Hiring the wrong person doesn't just cost you money, it costs you morale, reputation, and peace of mind. You're going to find out how to stop hiring fire starters and start building a team that works hard, stays loyal, and actually wants to be there. Most contractors miss at least one of these steps, and that's where the trouble starts. Before you post anything or take a single application, you need to get clear on exactly who you're hiring. What does your best employee look like? What are their values, goals, strengths, and deal breakers? I can remember I just interviewed two different people. I interviewed a few people, but there's two final candidates that I was trying to debate who is going to be a better fit for this position. We're hiring for a crew leader to manage one of our site crews. And I was stuck. Both were good candidates. Both had good experience. Both were pretty similar on paper. But the reason I ended up going with the one who actually worked out phenomenally is that it reminded me very much of a previous hire that I'd had working for me for about 3 years at that point, and just was an outstanding employee and did a great job. And that's kind of when I started to clue in that, hey, I should really be fine tuning who specifically is a good fit for this job, and what do they look like? What type of person are they? What kind of morals? What type of attitude? Cultural fit? All of these types of specific skills or background experience. Get a real clear picture of who this person is if you want to get an ideal employee avatar sheet to work through this with specific things to get a really clear idea. Check out the links in the description below. We've got a sheet there that you can download. From here, you're going to have a much better idea of who's going to be the best fit for this position. So the next step, now that you know who the ideal candidate type of person avatar is going to be that you're going to hire, now you need to write a job wanted ad that speaks specifically to that person and helps attract that person from all the people that you're going to be promoting this job ad to. You want to have a really strong title. Just as any headline or this is an advertisement, you need a strong title that's going to grab someone's attention and let the right people know that, hey, this is for you. Be really clear in the job ad of the expectations, what they're going to pay that they can expect, the culture, the values of your company. You don't want it to be generic. If you're creating generic job wanted ads, you're going to get generic people applying. So keep it a little bit out of the norm, a little bit fun. Let the personality of you and your company come through to make sure that you're finding that right person. You also want to make sure that you include a do not apply to people that are the wrong fit. So there's specific types of people or deal breakers. Make sure you mention that in the ad. Do not apply if you don't have a license or you don't have 3 years of experience or you've never been in a leadership position before. Whatever the criteria, make sure that you're very clear on what you want and what you don't want. From there, you're going to post it out as far as you can get. So just as marketing your company, you're going to want to reach as many people as you can. With your job wanted ads, you're going to want to put it on multiple listing sites, put it on social media, wherever you can push it out to, make sure you get it out there, as well as your email list. So if you got an email list, hey, create email. We're looking for this position. If you know anybody, please forward this link for them to apply. Your existing employees have some sort of a referral program where if anybody refers someone to the company that ends up becoming an employee, maybe you kick them back, a couple $100 or a day off or something like that. Paid, of course. And this is a great way to expand the reach and make sure that you're pulling from a wide enough pool of people to actually find the right candidate. Another thing that a lot of people don't realize is that when you're searching for somebody and you're listing on these sites, if you're just listing on the job wanted sites or job listing sites, you're only reaching a very small percentage of the actual good candidates out there because a lot of them are going to be working in companies. Good people typically stay with good companies and they stay with them for a long period of time. So if you're looking for good, loyal, skilled employees, you're probably going to find them in other companies. Now, here's the problem. How do you get, people from those other companies? The way you want to do this is have a database. So everybody who's applied previously for certain positions, there's a little bit of text set up here, but it's not rocket science. Feel free to reach out to us if you want help setting this up. But essentially, anybody that's applied for a previous job in maybe 6 months or a year, 2 years down the road, you're hiring for that same position because you've grown or that person's moved on or whatever. You should have that list of people that you can then send an email to of, hey, you applied for this position previously. If you're still looking, please, or if you'd like to reapply, please reapply at this time. You'll find that there could be people that maybe weren't quite the right fit at the time, but now a year later, they've got an extra year of experience or what have you. And now you're able to pull from this much wider pool and have a much better idea of finding the right fit for your company. So the applications start pouring in. Hopefully, there's not an overwhelming, if you're getting overwhelmed with applications, you need to tighten up your job wanted ad. But there's this critical step between that and the interview that a lot of contractors are missing that can save you a ton of time. And if you want this complete system with documentation and everything already built out to you, you're going to find it in our contractor growth system. This is a great program. Again, check out the links in the description below to apply and get signed up for the program. It has all of this done for you, ready to go, and you can just implement it in your company with our guidance as well. So the critical step is doing some sort of a pre-screen call. So this is going to be about a 15-minute call that any potential applicants, you're going to narrow it down to maybe, 5 to 10 good applicants. You're going to call each one of them. Do they answer the phone? Do they get back to you if you leave a voicemail? You're pretty much assessing their communication, and you're going to ask them some deal breaker questions. Do they have a license? Do they have a vehicle? What's their, does their work history match what they have on their resume? What are their goals for the job? Like, is there alignment there? So this is just a quick chat, and it gives you that ability to see, is this someone that's worth actually taking and going into a proper interview with? Or does this seem like someone who's not worth the time, or some sort of red flags came up and you just leave it at that? So the interview is where you measure who this person really is, not just what they say they can do. And that's really what you're differentiating in an interview. They've already impressed you to some degree with their resume and that pre-screen call. Now, you want brass tacks. Who is this person? Are they going to be a good fit? And a good interview questionnaire and process is going to help determine that. So you want something that's standardized so that you can really compare people against each other, as well as in depth enough to make sure that you're bringing in the right candidate. So ask questions that test their team mindset of how are they going to handle being a part of the team? How do they deal with conflict and resolution? Are they accountable? Do they take pride in their work? I'm gonna give you two questions here. We've got like a full template of this with, I believe it's 10 to 15 very specific questions that draw out amazing answers. But these are two ones more cultural. So tell me about a day on a past job site that you felt especially proud of. What made it a good day? So I love this question because it gets them to tell a real life story and something that they're proud of, completing a project. Maybe they learned something new. Maybe it's really challenging. Myself, I can remember being on these, putting up rafters this one day, working for another company before I started my company. And we essentially had to get the rafters up on this huge warehouse that we were putting up, and we needed them all up because we didn't want them to fall down. And it was kind of snowing, sleeting, raining, windy. We worked a good 12, 14 hours at least, and we got it all done. And, it was pretty proud to see it all standing afterwards and putting in that hard work with, I think we had about 8 guys in our crew at the time. So get them to tell you a story of something they're proud of. And this will help you gauge, like, what are they proud of? And are they actually in construction because they enjoy it, or is it just on their job to make a buck? The second question I'm gonna give you here is one that does more with skills and really figuring out, is this person skilled? I've definitely hired people that said, I've got lots of experience. I've been doing this for whatever, 2, 3, 4 years. And you get them on the site and it's like, what are they doing? Right? They're making rookie mistakes and they're asking you a ton of questions. So question that I like to ask in an interview is, tell me about the last time you framed a wall or installed flooring, whatever, kind of position you're hiring them for. Tell me from layout to finish, planning to finish, what was your process and what tools did you use? So at this point, they're going to tell you, well, if I'm going to be framing a wall, I'm going to, check the plans, ensure the measurements, do whatever, cut my studs, my plates, they're going to go through the process. These are the tools I use. And then from there, if it's really generic and it's like short, you want to dive in and like, can you like elaborate on what you mean by this? And if they can't really go down to the nitty gritty of specifically like in their head what they need to do in order to build or install this thing, you can probably come to the understanding that they're not really that experienced with it, or they can't really articulate it, which is another red flag of it's one thing if you've done it and you're good at it, but you want people that can communicate, that can tell step by step how they can do something so they can train other people, so they can learn things, and that communication is there. So this is a great way to assess how skilled they are and how well they can communicate about specifically what they do and the steps to accomplish tasks on site. Now, both of these questions were real life questions, and these are the type of questions you want to ask is something in real life. You don't want to say like, if you had a problem with a coworker, how would you handle it? They can pretty much make up any story, right? Because what if? Well, I would. How would you want to handle it, right? And instead, ask something like, "Tell me a time you had a disagreement with a coworker, or you were upset with somebody that you were working with. What happened? How was it resolved?" Now they have to like tell you something specifically, and you can get a clear picture of their history of actually what they did, not just what they say they would do, right? So there's a big difference. All of these different questions, you want to be scoring them on some sort of scoring systems. Usually 1 to 5 is pretty good and have some criteria around it. Like 1 is kind of vague or didn't give a good answer. 5 is like gave multiple answers or was really detailed or in depth or communicated well. And from that scoring, that's how you can kind of assess across different people. Because after you've done 3, 4, 5 interviews, you're going to forget what people said. You may remember kind of how you felt about it, but that scoring criteria needs to be standardized across multiple people so they can give a good, clear picture of what's going on. And then if you're hiring someone really important, even just like anybody that has any sort of leadership position or even a highly skilled person, get them to meet someone on your crew. You don't need your crew or a manager to necessarily interview them. You'll typically be doing the interviewing unless you've got a larger company, you've got HR people or you do have specific, managers who are going to be making that decision. But that said, if you are hiring someone like a project manager or office manager, even a crew leader or site superintendent, you're going to want to have some of the other managers, leaders on your team, have some FaceTime with them, just talk with them 10, 15 minutes and get them to tell you how do they feel about the person? Do they think that that person was a good fit? And things like this, because you only have one way of looking at things, and you can often the people kind of closer to the front lines, if you will be able to assess other people in a certain way and see kind of culturally and skill wise if that person's actually a good fit. Now, if the candidate's checked out on everything and you fireproof them as far as knowing if you hire them, they should be able to do the work without, having you pull your hair out on site because you got to fix everything or they're just learning super slow. Before you make them a job offer, you need to verify everything. And I'm so surprised how many people skip this final and most important step when you get to that finish line. I remember talking with a client of mine, and he just was excited about this new guy that he hired. And about 3, 4 weeks later, we're on another coaching call, and I asked him about, hey, how's that new hire? He's like, oh no, he was horrible. I had to fire him. And I found out that this other contractor I know actually had hired him like last year and had the same experience. So that would have been one phone call to pretty much save all that time and not have to go through the process again because now I need to hire another person. So do your due diligence. You need to call 2 to 3 references, ask them, would you rehire this person? How did they handle it? Pressure? What was the team dynamics with them in the team? What were their strengths? What were their weaknesses? And a real key one, and the next like extra level is who else could I speak to that could tell me about this person? So especially if they're at a larger company or if they know somebody else around this person, maybe they'll refer you to, hey, you can talk with my project manager if you really wanted to or whatever. Not everyone's gonna know someone. Usually they'll say no, but sometimes you can get just that extra viewpoint from different people inside a company that the person's worked with. The next step is to Google them, search their name online, pull them up on social media, Facebook, Instagram. Most people have accounts on social media, and you kind of get that inside look at who this person is outside of work. Of course, you want to have your filter on as far as like, people do what they do outside of work, and that's perfectly fine. But if it's coming up with some like really big red flags, or you kind of get just a better feel and a more holistic view of someone from those extra resources. And then check their consistency. Have they had 5 jobs in the last 2 years? You should have caught that in the resume place, but are they consistently as well through the references with what they told you in the interview, what you see on the resume, and what the references say that they're like, or the jobs that they've had, or the experience they have? Is everything matching up and aligning? If there's holes or missing, or maybe they said something but then a reference said something out, red flags can pop up. And then if necessary, you can run a background check just to make sure that they don't have any dark history and stuff like that. I definitely think about giving people second chances, but you should know if you need a background check. Again, critical hires, this is important for. Congrats, you've just eliminated a lot of fires that you don't need to put out if you work and use this hiring system. Hiring right is only half the battle. Managing clients the right way is just as critical. Click this next video to learn how to avoid chaos, set clear expectations, and eliminate the biggest client fires before they start.